Hello and welcome to Two Tiers Deep, the Women's Cricket Weekly Show, with me, Rosa Simpkin.
And me, Chloe Hill.
I'm the journalist, working in all the tiers of women's cricket.
And I'm the cricketer, currently playing in the game.
We saw a gap in the market, mainly from a Tier 2 coverage perspective. So we thought, why not start a podcast? To start with, we probably should explain something to you, which otherwise, none of this will make any sense. Last year, the ECB announced Project Darwin, a project to hand the game back to the 18 counties, split into 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the professional level, consisting of the Blaze, Durham, Essex, Lancashire, Hampshire, Somerset, Surrey and Warwickshire. I could go into the depths about why the Blaze aren't knots, but we'll leave that for another time.
And Tier 2 counties are made up of Derbyshire, Glamorgan, Gloucestershire, Kent, Leicestershire, Middlesex, Northamptonshire, Sussex, Worcestershire and Yorkshire.
And then Tier 3 are the national counties. Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our leading partner, Her Game 2. Her Game 2 Cricket partnered the Rose Talks Ball podcast and all the branches of the show, including Two Tiers Deep. Her Game 2 aims to spread a message of hope and equality throughout sport. Initially only in football, they have recognised that discrimination towards women and girls in sport is not limited only to football, so they have expanded into other sports, including cricket, where they can support, encourage and inspire women in the game. If you'd like to find out more about the work they are doing, you can find them online through their website, hergame2.co.uk/cricket, or you can find them on social media by searching for Her Game 2 Cricket. Thank you as always to Her Game 2 for their support of the podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Two Tiers Deep podcast.
Did you say hello and welcome to and welcome back?
More welcome back.
I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Oh.
Great. Let's go again.
Or we could just keep the shambles for...
Yeah, welcome to and welcome back as well.
We have both had to put jumpers on, Chloe, for very different reasons. You're still in Dubai, nice and sunny Dubai, and you've had to put a jumper on because your aircon's too cold.
Yeah, literally. I only put the aircon on for about 10 minutes and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm too cold actually. So I turned it off and put a jumper on. But I mean, it looks lovely outside and I'll be outside this afternoon coaching. So yeah, I'll warm up hopefully when I go outside.
Meanwhile, I've had to put a jumper on because my room I woke up this morning in Cardiff and it's an igloo in my room. I've had to put the heating on for the first time. You know, winter's coming.
I'm still going to be shocked, I reckon, when I step off the plane middle of December back in the UK. I'm going to have to mentally prepare myself, I think, with loading loads of warm clothes on the plane with me to then get changed just before we land. But I'll keep enjoying the sun until I come back.
I mean, it's one of the perks of avoiding the bulk of the winter, but a lot has happened in cricket since we last spoke to each other. And we need to start with the most topical, the most important, the World Cup. And my word, India, they only went and did it.
Yeah, what a win for India. I think for me, that semi-final match, obviously against Australia, I think was a turning point for India. I mean, a few games before that in the group stages, I didn't even see them get into the finals. I didn't even think they were going to be in the top 4. So for them to have like a complete turnaround of their tournament and walk away as winners in their home country as well, I think, yeah, credit to them. And I think it's, yeah, going to do massives for the women's game, especially in India, but worldwide as well.
That semi-final was just ridiculous. I mean, the way India went about that chase, and we'll have more of a look into that in a second. It's important that we point out that India lost 3 games in the group stage, and then to come back, make it out of the group, and win the whole thing in the pressure of a home World Cup. It's a pretty monumental achievement.
Yeah, and I think we also probably need to talk about the extent of the chase in the semi-final of Australia getting 338, 340. And India chasing it, I guess, 5 down. And Jemima Rodriguez, what a innings she had in that semi-finals for India, I guess, to knock out the favourites who were Australia, who everyone thought were going to be in the finals and who everyone thought was going to take the trophy home.
I mean, if you're Phoebe Litchfield and you've scored 119 opening the batting in the first innings of that semi-final, you're probably thinking, we've won this game. I'm the guaranteed player of the match here in a World Cup semi-final, on the way to an ODI World Cup final. But I mean, Jemima Rodriguez, what a knock. 127 not out from 134 balls. We should add that she was supported by Harmanpreet Kaur, who got 89. It was just extraordinary, and it was such a huge chase, and they did it with a couple of overs to spare.
Yeah, and I think it's also probably worth highlighting if India didn't get to this final, and if I guess they didn't win it, like, would Harmanpreet Kaur's captaincy be questioned, and would that have been her last potential game in charge of India, whether that was in a World Cup or in a series? And I guess it's also worth noting like how good Deepti Sharma has been with the bat and with the ball throughout this series for India. Obviously, we all remember back in England what she did to Charlie Dean at Lord's. So, I mean, for me, I obviously still hold that and remember her for that. But just to see how she's come out in this tournament with the bat and with the ball, and yeah, what a cricketer she is. And Risha Ghosh, yeah, she's held that lower middle order well and constantly striking above 100 and yeah, keeps putting India in such a strong position. And I'm still speechless that they chased that total down, to be fair.
We have to ask the question. Australia have been knocked out in semi-finals of a World Cup 2 years in a not two yeah, it's 2 years in a row. 2 years, 2 tournaments in a row. Are the tides changing? Are Australia losing their dominance in international cricket?
I think I heard something yesterday when I was watching the WBBL that Australia haven't won a title since Meg Lennon stepped down as captain. I mean, it might be worth to check that, but that is such a big. And don't get me wrong, Alyssa Healy, she's a great captain, a great player, a great keeper. But yeah, are other countries catching up with Australia now? And I guess obviously we potentially might have to mention that horrible drop catch that Alyssa Healy probably doesn't want to watch and repeat of, and I'm pretty sure it was Jemima Rodriguez, where she skied it up, and yeah, it should have been like, I guess, a bread and butter catch for Healy, but unfortunately, when it's not going your way on that day, it's just not going your way at all. And yeah, credit, I guess, to India, and obviously they went all the way to then play South Africa in the final, and we had a great final and a great showcase that I'm sure that we'll debrief South Africa's innings in the final.
Looking at that final, I mean, the first point I want to raise is the toss. South Africa winning and electing to chase, which at the time I remember thinking, a bit of an odd decision, given in the 2024 World Cup final, they chased against New Zealand and completely crumbled under the pressure of that occasion. And I'm of the belief that it's always better to have runs on the board in a big game, because then you've always got something to defend.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Getting runs on the scoreboard in a final is massive. I mean, as a cricketer and as being in a team environment, we always talk about scoreboard pressure. So realistically, South Africa sticking India into bat, they've sort of given themselves now the pressure to go and chase, well, just shy of 300 of what India got in the end. And may we just discuss Shafali Verma coming in for the semi-final and the final, and I guess playing a match-winning knock in the final of 87 off 78 balls. For someone who wasn't even in the squad, to then be called in the semi-final and the final, and everyone, I guess, questioning the decision. But for then her to sort of go out there and do her thing that we know that she can do is, yeah, absolute credit to her. And once again, Deepti Sharma, 58 with the bat. Yeah, she's been a player throughout this whole competition. And Risha Ghosh as well, with that lower order power hitting 34 off 24 with 3 4s and 2 6s. She's someone who can change a game in the click of her fingers. So yeah, she's someone handy to have in that 7, 6, 7, 8 batting order. But yeah, what were your thoughts and opinions on it?
I mean, on the flip side of what we just said, I can understand that India coming in with massive momentum from that semi final, you probably don't want them to be chasing, but also you've got to play your own game in a big game like that. I mean, Shafali Verma was unbelievable. Obviously, disappointing that Pratica had to drop out due to injury. And we wish her all the best for her recovery because she was unbelievable at the top of the order alongside Smriti Mandana for the bulk of that tournament actually, and it probably helped Shafali settle into the squad in that Smriti was having such a good tournament. Because I think as a player, Smriti can be a little bit erratic when she's struggling for runs. Whereas because I'm pretty sure she ended up as top or second in the run scoring rankings. Laura Wolbart was top. But massive kudos. I mean, coming into a squad in a major tournament at home and 87, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And then I guess if we look at the chase of South Africa, I guess we can't go too far from crediting Laura Wolvert for another 100 back to back in a semi-final and final. Obviously, she did it against us, she did it against England in the semi-finals to knock us out. And then I guess if she would have just stayed in, even 4 more overs or 3 more overs, who knows? Who knows what the result could have been? And I guess she sort of put up that fight and sort of showed why she is that captain and that leader of the team. And yeah, 101 off 98 balls. Yeah, I did feel for her when she got out. But I guess other players did need to step up on that day as well and support her. And I think there was only 3 others or 4 others, I think, that got into double figures, and the rest obviously were all below 10.
I mean, Laura Wolvart is a phenomenal cricketer, and at this point, people don't need us to tell them that. And I think the thing which really stands out for me about her is that she's improved with the captaincy. Since she's been captain of that side, her individual performances have been so significantly better and more consistent than previously. And she's only 25, 26. So for South African cricket, having Laura Wolvart at the top of your order performing like that, it's really positive, but there needs to be a pathway. The pathway in South Africa at the moment is incredibly poor. I think questions need to be asked about the governing bodies about why there hasn't been a push for an SA20 women's tournament. We're a few years into the men's tournament now. We've seen the success of other franchise cricket globally. But when they do so, it's about ensuring that the domestic South African players are actually getting those opportunities. I think one of my issues with the WBL is that because you've got 5 or 6 international players in the squad and 4 can play at once, and there's 5 teams, you think about how many cricketers there are in India, that's barely any opportunity for their domestic players. And hopefully that will change now they've met this unbelievable fate. But you'd like to think that South Africa making 2 finals in a row will push their case for a franchise tournament.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess if we just go back to, I guess, South Africa's chase, I think there's probably a few questionable decisions about the batting order or the lineup that they sent in at the time. To send in Jafta at 5 or 6, I think, yeah, that was quite baffling. And then to not send in Nadine de Klerk or Chloe Tryon in higher, when we both seen them in the UK domestic game, when we see Nadine de Klerk score 100 in our UK domestic game, to be batting at 9 in a World Cup final. Yeah, I was just so baffled. And then to have Jafta at 5-6, obviously she's not a boundary hitter. She chews up a lot of balls and she struggles to rotate the strike. So I mean, I don't know whether they were doing that to try and take the pressure off Laura Wolvart, or they were just trying to soak up some pressure because they lost potentially a few wickets that they didn't want to lose, or a few players that they didn't want to lose. But yeah, I'm still baffled by that decision to send in Jafta that high up. But also, if I go back to India and I talk about Deepti Sharma with the bat, you've got to talk about Deepti Sharma with the ball in the final. She got 5 for 39 in a final. So to contribute 50 plus with the bat to a 5 for with the ball, that is your ultimate World Cup final performance. And yeah, absolute fair play to her.
I think I messaged you when they sent Jafta in. I was like, why are they doing this? Especially given, don't get me wrong, Laura Wolvaart had an incredible knock, but she probably didn't accelerate to the extent South Africa, I was about to say Australia, she's definitely not Australian. South Africa needed her to. Um, and you probably would have liked her strike rate to be higher. But as far as draft is concerned, a 55 strike rate in a final when you're under pressure isn't ideal. And you've got Nadine de Klerk, who's had this unbelievable tournament and has rescued them in many games in the group stages. And she just kept not coming out. And I was sitting there watching this game and I was like, surely de Klerk comes out. No, it's Dirksen. Okay, can kind of get behind that. Surely she comes out now. It's Tryon. But on Deepti Sharma, she is a phenomenal cricketer. I mean, 5 for 39 in a World Cup final. It's outrageous. It is honestly outrageous.
I think we're missing a key performer with the ball that we thought would never ever bowl in a World Cup final. And she took 2 wickets. And she got the main wicket of. Did she get Laura Wolvaart? No. She got Sune Luce and Marizanne Kapp. And that is Shafali Verma with 7 overs, 2 for 36. Like, I've never ever seen Shafali Verma bowl in my life. I thought she was just a top order batter, and I feel like I'm sure that I heard that she used to keep as well, or can keep. So for her to then turn her arm over in a World Cup final, I think, yeah, none of us as, I guess, spectators or journalists or even South Africa as a team have done the prep to face Shafali Verma with the ball. So yeah, that was absolutely crazy to see and to hear.
You're right. How have we missed the headline of the day? Our player of the match, 2 for 36. I knew that Shafali bowled a bit, but I didn't. Don't think anyone was ever expecting her to bowl in a World Cup final. And Harmanpreet Kaur was interviewed after the game, and she said, "Well, yeah, we were in a little bit of bother with Laura, and I kind of looked over to her and knew she'd had a good knock with the bat, so I thought, why not?" And I respect that move from Harman as well, because if it had gone wrong, we would be, and everyone would be taking a very different viewpoint of it. 2 wickets in a World Cup final. Nuts.
Yeah, she's definitely earned her trophy and her medal coming in those last 2 matches and putting in performances like that for India, I guess, to finally walk away with a World Cup winning trophy. And I think we obviously saw in the presentations and I guess like the highlights after of all the past and previous Indian women players celebrate that as if they had won the World Cup with them. And I guess that's just a special part of cricket of the new generation, or the generation right now is still doing things for the players that led the way for them. So yeah, to see like Mitali Raj up there and yeah, I mean, you could literally go through the list and name others as well. But yeah, that was pretty cool and pretty special, I guess. And that's what playing for your country means, and winning for your country means as well. So yeah, that was really nice.
I mean, there is no nation more passionate about cricket than India. And for those players, their lives, I mean, change overnight, don't they? And it was really nice to see them recognised pretty much on par with the men's team by the BCCI and kind of bonuses for that win, because it was unbelievable. And to do it, I think people talk a lot about the benefit of having a home crowd, and it's helpful, but it's also a lot of pressure. Like, they're feeling every single moment with you. If you drop a catch, God, I dread to think what it's like to drop a catch in front of 25,000 people.
You certainly wouldn't want to be the player that drops the catch in that environment. You just want the ground to swallow you up, I reckon. But yeah, I mean, obviously I've never played or never been out to India and experienced it, but just seeing it on the TV and from a spectator's point of view, yeah, it looks crazy and it looks a bit overwhelming, but it just sort of shows how passionate they are in India about the women's game. And yeah, it's so cool to see that it's not just females in the stands. It's husbands, it's children, it's partners. It's just, yeah, it's a mix. I mean, I don't quite know what the word I'm looking for, but it's yeah, it's not just your female fans in the crowd. You've got a mixture of male and female, which is awesome to see, and hopefully other countries will get to that as well in the next coming years as well, when the game, I guess, just keeps progressing and getting bigger.
100%. I mean, massive congratulations to India. Can't wait for next year's, the upcoming WPL off the back of this, because I think it will be even more special than previously. And on the note of franchise cricket, shall we have a little look at the WBBL? Because Chloe, we did this massive preview last episode and we were like, here are all of the players playing in the tournament. And then I get 2 notifications on Instagram and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Melbourne Renegades have signed Davina Perrin as a replacement for Hayley Matthews and Izzy Wong in addition to their 3 internationals. I mean, first of all, shout out Dav. I mean, it's pretty big faith replacing Hayley Matthews.
I mean, yeah, what a season she's having still at such a young age in her cricketing career. And yeah, to be known that you're going out there to replace Hayley Matthews is mental. It's massive. And we all know what a star Hayley Matthews is at the top of the order with the bat. And I guess we've seen Davina Perrin in the summer, especially with the 100, dominate with the bat at the top of the order. So are we seeing a little transition phase into a new up-and-coming talent in these franchise gigs around the world? And yeah, I mean, that's pretty awesome for her, and how exciting.
It's also really good to see Izzy back in Australia, back in the WBBL. Obviously, she had that little phase where she kind of fell out of form and was dropped by England. She was playing in the WBBL and the WPL, stepped out of both. So it's good to see her back involved. But we want to highlight some of the other performances by the ridiculous England contingent that we have out in the WBBL. Do you want me to just roll them off?
Yeah, because there's too many to list. So yeah, just fire them away.
First of all, Sophia Dunkley, who struggled in the World Cup, 61 not out from 46, including 5 sixes. In Sydney Sixers chase against Perth Scorchers, her and Elise Perry chasing about a good total, 12 overs, no wickets lost. Then Danny Wright-Hodge for Hobart Hurricanes, a massive 90, another player who was in and out of position at the World Cup, in and out of the squad, performing, which is really good for England fans. Danny Gibson returning from injury at Melbourne Stars, with 31 off 15 balls. But then we need to look at the kind of flip side of that. And you mentioned before we recorded Paige Schofield, who has struggled for form this season after a ridiculous campaign last year. Was in the most expensive bracket in the 100. Called up in the WBBL, and we know that she's a class cricketer, but it's just not really showing in her performances at the moment.
Yeah, obviously Schofield's had such a successful, I guess, season for Surrey and South East Stars the last 2 years, and that was obviously noted with her high-end pick in the 100 with Oval Invincibles. To then, I guess, sort of probably have a little bit of a quieter back end of a county domestic season with Surrey. But then obviously she got drafted and picked for Perth Scorchers in the BBL, which is massive, I guess, for her cricketing career as well. And I guess you sort of don't get those opportunities later on in your career where she is, but she's still so talented and should be getting these opportunities. So for the start she's had with the Perth Scorchers, hopefully we'll sort of see a change in the next few games, and hopefully we'll go back to seeing the Paige Schofield that we know, or that we've seen, I guess, in the domestic game in the UK that's been so dominant. And we never like to see a player out of form. So hopefully in her next game, we'll see some explosive batting from Paige, and we know what an asset she is in the field as well. So that'd be quite exciting to see.
And on a similar note, Tammy Beaumont, who really struggled during the World Cup with consistency, didn't have the ideal start for the strikers with a 2-ball duck in their very ineffective game. I probably couldn't even put into words the amount of respect I have for Tammy. I mean, she's had to prove a lot to maintain her England place over the years, but you have to ask, is she under pressure to perform? I mean, you've got players like Dav coming through in her position. Are we seeing a bit of a turnover from the England contingent?
Yeah, and I guess it's going to be interesting to see with now Charlotte Edwards as head coach, and she's seen what the domestic talent has been like over the last 5-6 years throughout the regional game to the county game now, and having someone like her, I guess, in charge of England, we probably are going to see new players coming into these roles, and it wouldn't surprise me if we maybe see Dav in and around maybe the T20 World Cup squad. I don't necessarily know if she'll play, but it could be a good introduction for her, or to be around that group in like a training mentoring environment sort of thing. But yeah, she's certainly going to be one for the future, and for someone we probably are going to see in an England shirt. And yeah, I guess this is probably the question of the transitional phase now of some of the older players who have been in and around that England side for a long time. But if I have an argument of that, you're still seeing Danny Wyatt score runs in franchise competitions around the world. So I guess there's like pros and cons to it. But yeah, someone like Tammy obviously didn't have the World Cup she wanted to, but hopefully she'll find some form in this WBBL. And yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to see the T20 World Cup squad when that comes around in the new year.
A quick shout out to those other England players who are out in Australia. Freya Kemp, after a nasty spell with injury, is out there. Natsara Brunt, Heather Knight, Amy Jones, Alice Capsey, Sophie Eccleston, and Lindsay Smith. So it's a great opportunity for those players over the winter to get some game time under their belt. But another opportunity for those players is Abu Dhabi. Early next year, the ECB, according to various rumours, I'm pretty sure this is true, are taking out 30 English players to Abu Dhabi, splitting them into 2 squads and playing an international standard series, different training camp environments, different hotels, how you would in a proper series, to give some younger players opportunity to kind of prove themselves on that stage. So I'm pretty sure it's fair to say that Dav will be involved in that if she isn't something that's gone terribly wrong. But it's an interesting approach, and currently that's the only international cricket they've got between now and the English summer.
I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, it sounds like such a good idea, and hopefully that does happen. And yeah, to take out, I guess, 30 players, did you say? And have 2 squads and sort of keep them in a training camp and play a series. I think that's also going to give that a little bit of competition, a little bit of fight for place. And I think players need to realise when they go out there, they are potentially up for, I guess, a position in that World Cup squad. And if you go out there and you perform and you own it, and you're most likely to get your name into that squad. And yeah, Dav Perrin should be a player that we will and hopefully we should see out there in that 30-player squad. And I reckon there'll potentially be a few other domestic surprises that we've seen who have had a really good summer in the UK domestically as well. So yeah, I guess look forward to seeing that squad when it comes out.
shall we keep on a note of franchise cricket because we're on a roll here? The hundreds. We have to talk about it. They have announced some changes to the tournament for 2026 regarding the selection process. And are you happy for me to run through them? For 2026, players will be auctioned into squads instead of the previous draft model. Teams are allowed up to 4 pre-auction signings between mid-November and the end of January. Within these pre-auction signings, teams can sign up to 2 overseas players and up to 2 centrally contracted England players. A minimum of 1 of these signings must be a retention. The salary pot for the women's tournament has increased and is rising by 100%, meaning teams earn £800,000. Base salaries in the women's competition are also rising by 50%, so the lowest paid players will now get £15,000. Simultaneously, the men's tournament salaries have gone up 45%, raising to £2.5 million per team. Regarding overseas players and the squad sizes, the number of overseas players in a team has increased from 3 to 4 across both the men's and women's tournaments. Squad sizes have also increased from 15 women and 16 men to a range of 16 to 18 players. I think, first of all, men's salary increasing. Do you want to? I saw your mic unmute.
I mean, let's be real, I guess. The men's salary is always going to be higher and, more than the women. But I guess you probably got to start to look at it now is that they're playing double headers. The ticket prices are the same for both double headers for a men and a women's match. The marketing's the same. The sponsors are the same. Does the increase to the men's comp need to be as much as that? Now, I understand you want to increase and attract the best in the world, but also you want to attract the best in the world in the women's game as well. And look, it's never ever going to be on the same page. It's never going to be on the same salary and the same bracket. And I think we've seen that across women's sports anyway, in general. Like, we understand that. But I think when it's increasing that much, I think there's questions behind of why and where else could that pot be split a bit more across maybe both games or certain things towards both teams.
Completely agree with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love what the 100 has done for women's cricket. It's been revolutionary in terms of growing the game in England, creating talent for the international team in every area. It's been amazing. But I also, when I saw these changes, immediately thought this has been done for the men's tournament. All of these changes orientate around how men's franchise cricket works. I'm going to guess that when they were considering these changes, that the men's tournament was the priority in that. And I think whilst the ECB have less control now over the tournament, even though they still have the rights of the tournament, the owners coming in are going to have more to say about what's going on. They have a responsibility to maintain the women's game and to ensure that in the decision-making processes, the women are considered. And similarly, we saw it in the domestic stuff when they announced they were cutting the women's T20 season and growing the women's one-day season purely because of the men's T20 blast, even though we've got a women's T20 World Cup next year. You're just consistently seeing now, or maybe picking up on more, these kind of inconsistencies from the ECB in regulating this.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think we've seen it anyway over the past few years of the difference in the salaries between the men's and the women's comp as well. So it's not surprising, but I guess the more and more that, or every year the 100 plays or it's on show, it's still sort of bringing in that same marketing to both the men's and the women's side. And I guess the ECB need to, work out with these new buyers. I think that's probably the main thing is there needs to be probably transparency between the ECB and the new buyers of the 100 teams to make sure things are split right. And I guess obviously it's still a competition, a franchise competition in England. The ECB still need to have a big say in this. And I think that's probably got to be one of the biggest takeaways, is that we can't let some of the buyers, and I understand that some of these buyers have brought so many franchise competitions around the world, but the ECB and the home country's cricket board is the cricket board that needs to have a big say in how the franchise comp, I guess, runs, and how it's going to work best in their country. Yeah.
I completely agree. And I also think that this IPL dominance of cricket globally probably isn't particularly sustainable in the long run for cricket, but that's a whole other conversation. My other irk with these changes, because we're on a roll with Rosa's irks, is the overseas player rule. When I saw that the number of players in the squad was raising to four, I kind of assumed that that was just the squad members. But someone asked for clarification in the 100 journalism group chat, and an ECB representative said that four overseas players in the 11 will be permitted. It's awaiting Home Office clearance, but that will not be a problem. Why are we going backwards? Initially in the 100, there were more squad players, but they couldn't all play in the 11 because there was this belief that we had to develop domestic cricket. We then went back to three, and we've now got this incredible domestic product, and now you're decreasing the opportunities for these domestic players to play at the highest level after spending the last few years rigorously changing the women's domestic system in order to grow the game and develop players, but now they can't play. Where's the logic?
It's one of those where you're like, make that make sense. Yeah, no logic at all, really. And I think, I don't really know what more else to add on to that. I think it gets a little bit draining, a little bit exhausting, I guess, constantly speaking about something that just goes round and round and round. And we want to see changes, I guess, in a beneficial way to not just cricket as a whole, but the women's game is the main takeaway from that. Shall we move on to some domestic changes in the UK?
I think we should. And I think, first of all, we need to highlight one of my favourite humans in women's domestic cricket. Fran Wilson has announced her retirement from playing the game after 64 appearances for England. She was a part of that 2017 World Cup winning squad. She retired from England in 2021. Last season for Somerset, she scored 574 runs across formats. But her story is not ending. The same day it was announced she was retiring, Gloucestershire have announced that she is their new head coach. And Chloe can confirm I was very excited about this.
I mean, what a sign-in for Gloucestershire, especially a women's team in Tier 2 to have such an icon as their head coach, who has played international cricket for England. She's obviously taken some fantastic screamers in the field for England. But also she's been, I guess, well travelled around the world in terms of playing and coaching. And I noted that obviously she's coached in Australia as well as playing. And then obviously, as I found out before we started recording this pod, that she was assistant with Birmingham Phoenix as well, the women's team, this 100 comp as well. So yeah, she's clearly got the experience, and what a cool person to have as your head coach going into the second year of Tier 2 cricket for Gloucestershire. Especially, I guess, after they did have a little bit of a up and down with previous coaches they had last season. I guess they probably didn't have the continuity and the set of what they wanted. I think they had interim coaches, and I guess having Fran in now, it sort of gives them someone who is a good person, and B, someone who is bloody good at cricket and should help Gloucestershire become an exciting setup and an exciting women's side, and hopefully a side in Tier 2 next year that we'll see compete at the top of the table.
100%. I mean, it's also so exciting to see women so eager to go into coaching. I can't remember if it's only 4 or 5 women coaches we have in tier 1 or 2. I think it's only 4 across tier 1 and 2. I was sat there just then trying to think and I couldn't.
That's mental.
It is, as we've just confirmed, it is only 4 women's coaches, which is nuts when you think about it. Obviously, Hampshire lost Edwards to England, but still, you'd like to think that we'd have more women involved in coaching. I think it's really important for women to have women role models in their coaches. You know?
Where did I see something about Anya Shrubsole making a return?
I've not spoken about this.
Yeah.
Anya Shrubsole.
RCB. Is it RCB? Yeah, she joins RCB as an assistant bowling coach. Obviously, after
I think she's there as bowling coach.
Yeah. Talking about women's coaches, that just reminded me of it.
I mean, that's super exciting because for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure Anya was kind of player coaching before she retired from Vipers. Am I lying? Chloe's nodding at me. That's a good sign. And then when she retired from the game, pretty much completely stepped away from the game. So for her to make a comeback with RCB, the reigning champions of the WBL, is super exciting. And behave. And hopefully maybe she'll be interested in coming back to coaching in general and she can become the 5th.
Yeah, and it maybe wouldn't surprise me as obviously she's worked with Charlotte Edwards at Vipers as a player coach, that who knows, are we going to see her in a bowling consultancy sort of role for England later down the line. But yeah, obviously she was a player coach when I was at Vipers. And then the season she retired, she was obviously going into something non-cricket related. I think it was like some sort of finance or ad or something like that. So yeah, I guess really interesting, but also really exciting that she wants to come back into the world of cricket. And hopefully, I guess it can offer her something different from playing cricket. So finding love for cricket in a new way now. And yeah, I guess it'd be exciting to see what she has to offer, especially in the WPL. That'd be exciting. And then I guess obviously we slowly stepped away from Fran Wilson, but obviously we probably should just give her a little bit more credit of her taking over Gloucestershire as a tier 2 head coach. There's also been some new exciting signings in tier 1, I think, with what we've seen so far. Is that right? The other twin.
That is right. But first of all, on the note of women's coaches, we need to give Rachel Priest a shout out, who has extended her stay at Glamorgan until the end of 2027. So she will oversee the transition from tier 2 to tier 1. But let's talk about the twins. And the very entertaining way in which Warwickshire announced the twins. Mary Taylor has re-linked up with Millie Taylor at Warwickshire. And I really enjoyed, I don't know if this was deliberate or not, the caption of the post announcing them, which said, and I quote, "a new face at Edgbaston."
I mean, it was, I guess, cleverly done on a marketing aspect if we look at it like that. But I mean, a new face. Her and Millie literally look like identical twins. So yeah, fair play to the admin team for that announcement. But I guess quite a big move for Mary Taylor, because obviously with the likes of Freya Davies retiring at Hampshire, and I guess Naomi Datani didn't really bowl much as well with Hampshire, and Freya Kemp. With Lauren Bell away on international duty, what seamers do Hampshire have? And she obviously played some pivotal roles with the bat lower down the order as well. And it's like she was playing. So yeah, I guess interesting move, but I guess obviously when you've got a twin sister and you've been inseparable from from birth, and one moved to Birmingham and one's still in Hampshire down south. I guess if you've got the opportunity to play together and be back together, and especially in a new environment, for both of them, that's pretty exciting and pretty cool. But yeah, it looks like Warwickshire are loading up their seamers with obviously Alexa Stonehouse on a full season loan from Surrey. They then signed Mary Taylor. They've obviously got the young Amu Sarankuma. They've got, and Hannah Hardwick as well. They've got loads of different choice of seamers, with Emily Arlott and Izzy Wong potentially going to be away on international duty, and I guess potentially we still don't know what Katie George is going to be like for next season in terms of a bowling capacity as well.
It's a massive move for Mary to move away from a Hampshire squad that has previously been so dominant during that Vipers period. She's played pretty consistently for them this year. She did play for Birmingham Phoenix and under Ali Maiden in the 100, so I wonder if that's kind of swayed it slightly. But it's really interesting. It's going to be an interesting watching experience for. I bet you there'll be some confused faces at Edgbaston, and especially in the press box. But it's super exciting to see them back together. It's interesting that Warwickshire are bringing in more young players. I mean, they have the youngest average. I think their average squad age last season was 21 or something ridiculous. You bring in 2 more youngsters. It's an interesting tactic, and building for the future, you'd like to think it pays off for them.
I guess there's a weird thing about, though, with this, I guess, this younger, youthful generation, is that they've kind of got no fear. And I guess Dav Perrin is a great example of this, of someone who can step out and perform at the Oval in a 100 semi-final and smash 100 and be not drafted, but be selected for the Big Bash and sort of go across the other side of the world and go and do what she's been doing, I guess, domestically. So yeah, this generation of cricketers kind of, has no fear, goes out and does what they want. So I know at the start of last season, we sort of questioned how Warwickshire going to go with that younger team, but I think they actually surprised us. They're probably the team that surprised us the most with how successful they were and some of the exciting games of cricket that they gave to the viewers, gave to the fans. So yeah, I guess adding a couple of more youngsters into that environment and of a left arm seamer and a right arm seamer, who both of them can bat as well. We've seen Alexa Stonehouse score bat at the top of the order when it was South East Stars. We've seen her get a 50 or win matches for Surrey last season. We've seen Mary Taylor get a 50 for Hampshire and win matches for them. So yeah, they're definitely, I guess, bolstering their team as a bit more of an all-rounder sort of capacity. So yeah, I think it'd be exciting to see how they come up against the more experienced players, especially Kate Cross probably will be available for Lancashire full-time now next season. So we'll see her pretty much every game. Obviously, with Yorkshire joining, you've got Sarah Glenn being with Yorkshire. I imagine she'll probably play a big role with them. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see how this, I guess we call them a younger team, goes against the more experienced. And yeah, I think we're going to see some exciting games of cricket, and watch out for these youngsters coming through.
I also really rate Ali Maiden. I think Ali Maiden is a phenomenal head coach for that group. And I think what sums him up is during the 100 for Birmingham Phoenix, when they were struggling at home, he would always put himself forward for the interview of the journalists after the game and take responsibility for what had occurred. He'd never put any of that on the very young squad. And that probably sums up his personality. And we need good coaches who genuinely care about their teams working in women's cricket. And he is definitely one of them. So it'll be interesting to see how they go next season after a lot of those younger players have settled this year.
Definitely. Is there any other domestic news that we need to cover, or have we covered it all? I feel like today's been a very heavy World Cup franchise, domestic. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should note that it's 9 a.m. in the morning for you, and yeah, 1 o'clock in the afternoon for me right now. And that's probably a lot of cricket for you to talk about when you just, I imagine, not long woken up as a uni student.
Literally rolled out of bed for a jumper and I was like, right, podcast.
I'm glad you set an alarm and you remembered.
Oh, can you imagine? Absolute scenes.
I'll just be sat
But
there like,
anyway, Rosa, why is the Zoom meeting not started?
amazing. Well, I will say good luck to editing this pod because I think it's been a little bit of a shambles, but it's also been pretty insightful. Um, and maybe we could do a little shout out or ask any of the listeners if they want to send any questions in for things to discuss in terms of international cricket, franchise comps, the domestic game, all things cricket really. And maybe we'll put out a little question or something on our socials as well. And maybe we might get a guest soon on our next podcast, maybe, or the following one. We can work on it.
We will indeed. On the note of questions, you can email rosetalksball@gmail.com. You can find me through Rose Talks Ball, and you can find Chloe
on Instagram. You can find me at 2tearsdeep.ch or on X at Chloe_Hill97.
And you can also comment on Spotify or YouTube, and I will keep an eye out. But that is all for this week, and we hope you're feeling a little bit informed than you were at the start of it, because I think we both certainly are.